Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Today we will discuss about the subject of professional development. Its code is 383 and it is lecture number 14. Today our topic is teaching practice. The outlines of the lectures are introduction about the topic and then teaching practice, and then we will discuss about importance of teaching practice, and then what are the major connotations, and then stages in teaching practice and teaching practice in Pakistan, and the issues in Pakistan related to the teaching practice. Okay, first of all, what is meant by the teaching practice? As there are definition of the teaching practice, there are a number of terms such as practice teaching, student teaching, teaching practice, field studies, in-field experience, school-based experience, or internship are used to refer to this activity. The term practice teaching embraces all the learning experiences of the student teachers in schools. The term practice teaching has three major connotations: the practicing of teaching skills and acquisition of the role of a teacher, the whole range of experiences that students go through in schools, and the practical aspects of the course as distinct from theoretical studies. Teaching practice is the name of the preparation of student teachers for teaching for practical training. So, it is the practical use of teaching methods, teaching strategies, teaching principles, teaching techniques, and practical training and practice, exercise of different activities of daily school life. So, teaching practice is an integral component of teacher training. It grants students teachers experience in the actual training and teaching environment. Teaching practice is an important component of becoming a teacher. It grants students teacher experience in the actual teaching and learning environment. During teaching practice, a student teacher is given the opportunity to try the art of teaching before actually getting into the real world of the teaching profession. Student teachers also know the value of teaching practice, and as remarked by the mentor, they perceive it as the crux of their preparation for the teaching profession, since it provides for the real interface between studenthood and membership of the profession. As a result, teaching practice creates a mixture of anticipation, anxiety, excitement, and apprehensions in the student teachers as they commence their teaching practice. The term teaching practice represents the range of experiences to which student teachers are exposed when they work in classrooms and students. Further, the researcher argues that teaching practice is the challenging but important part of the teacher training, especially in developing countries such as South Africa, where the effectiveness of the teaching practice can be diminished or eroded by the range of challenges such as geographical distance, low and uneven levels of teacher expertise, a wide ranging lack of resources, as well as a lack of discipline among the wide cross section of the learners and educators. These challenges, if not addressed, may affect student teacher performance and may in the long run affect their perception of the teaching profession. Teaching practice is basically a student teaching, and this is a teaching practice. This is also the name of field studies, in-field experience, school-based experience, and now what is the importance of teaching practice? Teaching practice is a form of work integrated learning that is described as a period of time when students are working in the relevant specific in-service training in order to apply theory in practice. Different researchers describe teaching practice as an integral component of the teacher training. In order to achieve the standard required by the qualified teacher status, a student teacher is required to do the teaching practice in at least two schools, according to the Perry in 2014, as they discussed that teaching practice can be conducted in a number of forms depending on the institutions. Some institutions send student teachers to go for teaching practice once a day each week. Others do this over a semester, while others send students teachers in 2 to 6 weeks. Block participants in quick and different study studies suggested that the traditional teacher training that can be accommodated one third time. And for teaching practice, it requires 11 or 12 weeks. And this practice period should be divided into the at least two, possibly three school experience sessions. And it should be pointed out that whatever form it is done, teaching practice is aimed at including student teachers more fully into the professional work of teachers. And the effect of student teacher is expected to fulfill all the responsibilities of teacher. The first importance is that this is a great experience in teaching practice. The purpose of teaching practice is to provide the students with an opportunity to apply their pedagogical knowledge and skills in practice. One of the aim is also that the students will be able to understand his or her role in the larger whole of the profession and in extended operational environment of the school. Predict future success. This is also that teaching practice is the key component of the undergraduate teachers training program. It is during this period that the student teacher gets to translate the skills and theory learned into reality through actual classroom teaching. Teaching practice is a vital component of teacher education and training because it provides student teachers with an opportunity to learn from the experience in the workplace. Researchers say that student teachers believe that the practical experience of observing expert teachers, receiving feedbacks, and practicing strategies are the most important factors in their growth as teachers. But there is a widespread outcry about the quality of most of the teachers who have undergone their practice. Enhance teacher quality. Training teacher is the partnership between teachers, training colleges, the secondary schools, and stakeholders in the education system. The educational institutes send out teacher trainees to schools every year on schools practice, but School of the Education does not clearly state how the secondary schools are expected to contribute to the training of these teachers trainees. School practice is the semester-wise routine prescribed by teacher training colleges, which the researchers have reflected on to assess its effectiveness in preparing teacher trainees. There are some emotional involvement with the schools and students. Also, students feel engaged, and this is also a challenged and empowered. This is a path to link with teaching. There are three major connotations, like the first one is practicing and acquisition of teaching skills, and the second one is whole range of experiences practically, and aspects of the course. There are some objectives of teaching practice. Objectives of the teaching practice may be to provide the prospective teachers with an opportunity of establishing an appropriate teachers-pupil relationships. The second objective may be to provide an opportunity for evaluating the student's potential as a teacher and suitability for the teacher professions. And the next objective is to develop personal relationship with others, administrators, teachers, parents, and students. And the next one is to provide the future teacher with practical experience in school to overcome the problems of discipline and enable him or her to develop method of control. And the next objective may be to provide with an opportunity to put theories into practice and to develop a deeper understanding of educational principles and their implications for learning. And the next is to enable the students teachers effectively to plan and prepare lessons. And the next one is to develop skills in the use of fundamental procedures, techniques and methods of teachings. And the other may be to develop desirable professional interest, attitudes and idea related to the teaching professions. And the next one is to enable the student teachers to acquire desirable characteristics or traits of the teachers and to display appropriate behavior. And the other one may be to provide student teachers with an opportunity to have teaching evaluated and to gain from the benefits of constructive criticism. And the other may be to provide an opportunity for self evaluation and discover own strengths and weaknesses. And the other may be to develop skills in future teachers related to the teaching, like fluent speaking, meaningful reading, using blackboards and other teaching materials. And the other objectives may be to provide an opportunity to liaison with the school environment, its functioning, and with community and its resources. And the next one is to provide for the exchange of ideas and methods between practicing schools and teachers training institutions. By teacher training institutions, staff and students perceiving new ideas, material and equipment in use in practicing schools and introducing new ideas, materials and equipment into the schools. The foremost objectives may be considered as establish student relationships, evaluate student potential, develop personal relationship with community, develop method of control to overcome problems in school, understand implications for learning through theories, acquire traits of teaching, gain benefit from constructive feedback, discover own strength and weakness, develop skills means communication using resources, exchange and perceive new ideas, and develop fundamental techniques of teachings. The aim of these teaching practices is for students to develop independent knowledge and skills. Teachers should help their students to become increasingly independent. So, practice should include journaling, reflecting on or recording existing knowledge on genre, conventions, and adding to these in the course of the text study. Identifying sources for further research in all areas like teachers, peers, community, electronic, online, hard copy, and oral text, and so on. Then using and incorporating local and community experience when interpreting text, for example, grandparents. So, gathering knowledge and content of the text and genre within and beyond the school environment and between text, text types, contents, and students' own stories. Using multiple methods for reading of text and comparing these with each other reading, including using secondary sources. Basing studies of text on specific teaching and learning around convention of genre, basing the learning and the context and cultural perspective of the learners, collecting feedback from multiple resources and establishing the most important task and strategy specific next steps for deeper reading and understandings. Then explicit teaching to provide students with competencies in the selection and use of increasingly complex and flexible tools for inquiry. Into text, for example, 3 levels, guides and tools for developing specific vocabulary, stylistic and linguistic features, literacy devices, sentence constructions and grammatical control and how these make meanings. So, providing processes to encourage increasing independence, clear scaffolding of the inquiry process. So, the clarification of the general objectives of teaching in terms of school subjects matter is not sufficient to explain the ultimate ends of education. So, they include essentially the promotion of the well integrated person capable of taking a responsible, active role in society. With such a purpose in mind, one may achieve more insight by choosing a psychological analysis of the objective into the attainment of intellectual abilities and social insights, and the learning of practical active skills, and the development of emotions, attitudes, and values. Cognitive growth begins, as we know, that at the level of infant school with the acquisition of early languages and numerical capabilities, and continues increasingly to dominate education to the secondary and higher levels. But the learner is more than an enlarging reservoir of the information. With that acquisition goes a growing power to generalize, abstract, infer, interpret, explain, apply, and create. So, cognitive learning training produces a thinker, observer, aware of the modes of thought and judgment, making up human intellectual activity. And in the final stage, the teacher's aims at thinking, critic, organizers, and creators. So, in the development of psychomotor learning, the teacher is concerned with the promotion of coordinated skills and their creative use. So, instruction begins with the act of handwriting and their creative use. So, instruction begins the effect of handwriting and plastic art play and characteristics of earlier year of schooling. It includes painting, games, workshop skills, and practical science. So, it has a high prestige value among the people themselves and the wider community. And the other objective may be to. Now, there are some stages and teaching practice. Like the first one is primary stage, then lesson planning in classrooms, and then evaluation. Then first stage means at primary stage, trip to schools to observe and meet the concerned teachers. And the other one is documents of schools. This is very important at the primary stage. And at lesson plans, lesson preparations means subject, books, resources. We can also use all these things for preparation of our lessons. And then also after making a lesson plan or lesson preparations, we must take take feedback from our seniors or supervisors to overview our prepared lessons, because might be there may be different mistakes that we may not see at that time, but the supervisors may help us increasing or modifying our lesson plans well and manner. Then in classrooms, we must have introduction with the students or introduction about the topic, and we must have presentations. And when we deliver the lecture, so we must recapitalize the things after explaining each and everything. Then observations by concerned teachers. So this is very important that we must take some observations by our teachers. The first one, when we see that when we identify our needs, so this step consists of the training need analysis, where training needs to identify the knowledge gaps, special learning needs of the students, and reflect individual differences. So in introductions, then when we plan, then the planning start with the what the training aims to accomplish, where is designing consists of all the planned objectives and way to achieve them. So objectives may include whether training would be conducted in the classroom settings or virtually, and the inclusion of minimum core in the course and other important aspects related to the subject. So it further includes designing a good lessons with the use of session plans, schemes of work, and creating a variety of different resources. So as you want that if we want to address, so that includes determining when and which information is presented, so when to conduct learning activities and when to have assessment. Then in evaluation definitely the lessons are to be assessed, or knowledge is being assessed by the trainer's area of expert, And but how to assess if the learners picked the concept correctly? To answer such a questions, simply conduct assessment quizzes and test for the learners to measure their level of knowledge and progressions. So these formative and summative assessments gauge the learner's ability to receive and retain knowledge. So these assessments must be planned in the second stage along with the course contents, and it is recommended to record the progress and achievement as per requirements of the internal and external awarding bodies. So in evaluation also we must have feedback. So overall session clarify if training has accomplished the plan objectives, and the effectiveness can be measured through taking student feedbacks about the training, and it highlights the area of improvement for the trainer to take care of the upcoming sessions. So lastly, it calls for recommendations to improve or tweak needs for future programs, and the student feedback helps the trainer in measuring the effectiveness of course contents, method of delivery, assessment strategies, and the learner satisfaction. The ideal time to collect feedback is immediately after the session, and then again a few weeks after the session, so that the students get enough time to apply their theoretical knowledge practically at work. The feedback must contain developmental and positive comments to keep the students motivated to work better. So, teachers and trainers are experts of the subject knowledge in their knowledge specialist area. So, to develop the knowledge effectively, the trainer must adhere to stages of teaching and training cycle. So, these stages are demonstrated mostly in a circular form because it is ongoing process, and there is always a room for improvement in the teaching and learning process. And teaching practice in Pakistan, as we observe that it is offered in many teaching programs, and it has been considered teaching practice as a time pass, and short duration mostly is being considered. Then bounded teachers remains there, and no training for other school activities, and being taught to use modern teaching strategies but practice traditional activities. And instead of taking part actively, student merely tolerate this activity, and administrator are not aware of evaluating techniques. So practice teachers are considered inferior, and judging without justification. Students only choose desired and easy subjects. So these are normally the which is going to be happen in Pakistan. Now there are some issues in Pakistan, like importance is not recognized, and resources of teaching practice are not supplied properly. Teaching practice is based on orderly styles, and supervisors don't provide proper guidance, and during evaluation all the aspects of teaching skills are not being considered, and modern techniques are neither supplied nor applied, and duration of teaching practice is short. So there are some recommendations that predefined target should be there, and experienced concerned teachers should appoint it, and make student oriented about what they are expected, and fill the gap between theory and practice, and provide timetable, schedule, subject syllabus, resource list, and give feedback honestly, and instead of criticizing help students to overcome challenges. And so this is all about this lesson. Take care. Allah Hafiz.